Hey, we're live on tape. But Sleepy Reader here. Hey, everyone. Gonna talk about a huge chunk of Rebirth comics from last week and this week, kind of somewhat in order, somewhat mixed up. And I do have a super assistant over here who may make guest appearances when she feels like it. You may know her as Quacking Duck.
Me.
Or we could call her Linda Lee.
Don't call me that.
If you were at Rose City Comic Con, you might have seen Linda Lee and not realized it was Quacking Duck. So I'm going to look at some Bat books first. I actually have the one Rebirth book I haven't read yet is Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. I'm just mentioning that because I think they're on the cusp of being dropped. I just kind of picked it up and started reading and just wasn't in the mood, which is the first time that's really happened with a Rebirth comic. But I could be off base. Maybe when I read the whole thing, I'll decide otherwise. I read All-Star Batman #2 by Snyder and Romita. And, I didn't have high expectations, but it just felt a bit of a letdown. Romita's art wasn't working as well for me this issue as last issue. Things looked a little goofier. And maybe the goofy look of Romita's artwork and the kind of serious seeming coloring by Dean White didn't mix as well for me this issue as it did last issue. And other than that, I just feel like Snyder's kind of stretching a simple story out too far.
It's a little bloody for me.
And it's got the covers a little bloody. So anyway, I might drop this or I might not. It's kind of fun to read, but it's just not up to where I would like it to be, maybe. There's some pretty simplistic drawings. So anyway, are you being helpful?
Yeah. Okay.
See how helpful an 8-year-old can be.
Okay, sometimes I'm just not that helpful.
We might want to read this one. It's about a different Amazon, Artemis. And it kind of gives some of her backstory. I don't know enough about Artemis in DC Comics, but apparently she was involved with Egyptian gods. And you know something about Egyptian gods from reading your Goddess Girl books.
Yeah,
but
maybe you couldn't talk. Maybe you shouldn't talk about that right now.
Oh, okay. I won't talk about that right now.
But I like her.
So this was a pretty cool issue, and I liked Artemis. There was a lot of kind of Marvel-style banter and stuff, which worked here. I've heard people get kind of sick of Lobdell's banter, but it worked for me here. It was fun, the contrast between the two characters. So we'll see where it goes. I can't even remember what happened on the final page. Oh, we get the reveal of what I have to only presume is Bizarro. But the different versions of Bizarro popping up in the DC universe in rapid succession are interesting because we got a whole Bizarro from Bizarro Earth in a almost Looney Tunes kind of fashion just a little while ago in DCU. And we have another Bizarro elsewhere in this stack. But moving on, no Bizarro in Nightwing that I can remember. This was a week ago. I've read so many comics. Is there a bit of a blur, perhaps? But I remember still loving the artwork and the basic setup here. I still like the relationship between Dick Grayson and this character Raptor. So I'm glad to see that he will still be around.
And Quacking Duck got a haircut.
Oh, did no one notice Quacking Duck got a haircut? She looks very different from the last time you saw her, when her hair was like twice as long. I think she looks very cute.
Well, maybe a third longer.
A third long. Oh, I'm bad at math. Yeah, so this was just a highly enjoyable issue. Tim Seeley still feeling very strong to me.
Help you with?
Not yet, but it's coming up. Well, what do you think of this guy?
I don't like him. Is that Clayface?
Clayface. He just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Really?
Where does all the clay come from? How does he shrink down into looking like a regular human being when he wants to disguise himself? I don't understand.
I really don't like Clayface.
So I have to keep reading Detective Comics to find out more about Clayface. But this issue was actually a great climax to the story. I really can't complain about anything in here.
That's why we don't read
Awesome art. A little too dark for you. Great emotional moments. Even while I was enjoying the emotional moments, I was like, oh, come on. So many people die. How many issues till he comes back alive? Well, spoilers. He comes back alive already. He's not dead. I'll have to write spoilers down in the description. So sorry about that, but I couldn't resist. But I was really glad that they turned it that way rather than pulling the usual wait a while and then bring him back alive. And he's captured by this robed person. Is this the same person who was who intercepted Doomsday and has captured Doomsday? So I'm not sure if this all ties together or if they're different robed strangers who are capturing people.
The next one is just
but
Batman,
I really look forward to
right?
it. The next one is just the Batman with a lot about Gotham Girl, who's kind of like Supergirl.
Gotham Girl?
Only every time she loses her powers, it shortens her life. And she kind of goes a bit crazy in this issue. It's done very well. It felt more like a Tom King story as we expect them to be, with the interesting narrative thread counterpointing the story.
It's about
lots of
Gotham
fun
Girl.
bad guys appearing. Kite Man was in here. Other people. Some pirates. I forget the name of that pirate. If I'm supposed to remember the name of that pirate. A lot of cool art by Ivan Race this time.
Art.
She appreciates cool art. I'm sensing sarcasm coming from the younger quarter here. Are you a quarter?
I'm not.
So yeah, it feels like Batman's getting better, but do I care very much? Yeah, I still am very distanced from this comic, especially compared to Detective.
I think it's cool art, actually.
And it is cool art. And compared to Nightwing, I'm more distanced. I care more about Nightwing, and I care about Detective, and I care about Red Hood. So, I do now onto the Green Lanterns, which has this really cool female Green Lantern named Jessica.
Doesn't she live in Portland?
And she lives in Portland.
And we live in Portland.
And we may have to go look for her. When we figure out what street she lives in, we'll stalk her. So
I bet they don't know the
I
streets
like
in
these
Portland.
characters. It's way overwritten. I guess I'm going to keep getting it, but it's a struggle. Just I think like on this first page, I just started skipping caption boxes.
And on the first page, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, there's just always this red blood-like stuff for these red lanterns. Don't let that bother you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
They're not actually bleeding. It's just like
kind of a pretty cool ending. However, and a nice setup for whatever's going to happen next. However, I didn't like that the thread of the Red Lanterns is still there. I'm pretty darn sick of the Red Lanterns as your go-to bad guy. So hopefully we'll get a long break from the Red Lanterns before they come back. That's kind of a pattern with these Rebirth things. Every arc ends with a hint that whoever it is going to come back, which is a classic comic book move. But a lot of these people like Doomsday and the Red Lanterns I'm a little sick of. Raptor's going to come back. That's okay. Speaking of coming back, we liked Supergirl a lot, right?
yes, but why did you have to do Supergirl first?
She's part of my stack of Superman things.
But why was she first?
No, the first one was Green Lantern. Oh, okay. You want me to wait? I can talk about...
Talk about Superman first.
Quacking Duck did not like this cover, and there were some scenes in here, mostly dreamlike scenes, that resembled that cover,
Well,
so we skipped it.
I'm okay with that cover, Like
Okay, well, maybe we can read this. It's amazing how many panels per page Phil Jimenez puts on each page. I counted at one point like 13 panels, 11 panels. So many panels per page. He's really working hard. However, this issue had a weird point for me where we just kind of stopped the action, and she went back. Lana Lane just went back to the regular world or whatever, and her boyfriend Steele. I didn't know Steele was her boyfriend, but
Lana Lane.
Strawberry and banana
Smoothie.
smoothie.
Okay, let's talk about Supergirl.
Okay, we're ready to talk. So this was a little weaker than the first issue, but still good.
I'm okay with seeing the cover, you know.
Okay, you can see the cover. And then we like this a lot. We're not too thrilled by this bad guy coming on just because he looks gross, right?
No, he doesn't look gross.
I thought he looks gross. He looks weird. So, but they handled the whole aspect of her going to high school kind of. They did that well, right? And who was the bad guys in this? Just some guys robbing the train?
Yeah.
Oh, and there were really, really good flashbacks to her life on
Krypton.
I really liked how they drew those and colored those. And it was a really nice juxtaposition from her great life on Krypton to her kind of not so great life here in high school on Earth. So maybe when you go to high school, we should send you to another planet. That might make a difference. Although it's junior high school everyone worries about, right?
No. Well, it's both everybody worries about.
And what did you think of the way they drew her face?
Okay, I liked her hair a lot.
You liked her hair a lot? Okay. It took me a while to get used to the way they drew her face, but I did get used to it. So, looking forward to more issues of this. New Superman was very funny, quite good. Lots of panels here too. It's very very dense, a pretty chunky read. I really like the way all the characters are done and everything. So this continues to be definitely a really fun read. Kind of a bit of a spoof, a bit of a joke on superheroes in a way, on the DC universe, while both being funny and serious at the same time, maybe. And B, what did you think of this cover? This cover kind of caught your attention, right? Or Quacking Duck, this cover kind of caught. Did you like it, or was it a negative attention?
Actually, I kind of liked it. Except it's a little too, red.
Too red.
Because the heat vision's red, and then the background's kind of reddish.
This moment gave me a big yay when Crypto came back from out of the Eradicator. He was inside the Eradicator somehow. The Eradicator's this robot that sucks Kryptonian souls or something like that. This issue had awesome art. It was an interesting thing where they kind of wrapped up the story halfway through, and then they did some kind of afterwards, and like a series of epilogues almost, which climax. The epilogues had a climax with the. I'm really spoiling things this time. I usually try not to, but maybe
don't spoil it this time.
You don't want to see the last page?
No, I don't. No, don't.
Okay. Well, the last page was really great, and it was the first time they called a certain person by a super and a boy name, and you already knew that, so I'm not spoiling it for you. I'm spoiling it for you if you haven't read it. But I was kind of psyched. This may turn out to be really more a comic book that should be called Superman and Superboy. And soon they're going to have a Superboy and Bat and Robin comic book.
They should have a...
Which I remember in the preview didn't have art that I liked, but maybe I'll have to get used to that.
Are you going to get it?
Probably. What don't I get? Action Comics almost entirely focused on...
Is there something that you don't get in the DC Universe
on Clark
Rebirth?
Kent. I don't get Red Hood, and I accidentally did not get the Green Lantern Corps, but I think I'll go back and find that. It just didn't appear in my pull, and I didn't notice it wasn't there. I enjoyed this Clark Kent issue, which kind of ended with, kind of filled in some gaps. And unless this guy is crazy or whatever, I think he must be some kind of construct with false memories, like maybe a clone of Clark Kent or a robot or a biological robot or someone from another universe. I don't know. So I'm very curious about him. They're doing this mystery quite well.
Superman is a person from another universe.
And I like the way they make Clark Kent a very competent person who can mostly take care of himself, but perhaps a little foolish and headstrong. So that was interesting. Because a pure Clark Kent who isn't really Superman and who really is a reporter, that was an interesting thing to read. Okay, is it okay if we do this one next?
Yes.
Because I think of these comics that both of us read, this would be your favorite, or
One of my
Supergirl.
favorites.
Which do you like better, or is it hard to compare this to Supergirl?
It's hard to compare.
I'd say this was the best of the Rebirth Wonder Women so far. They did a lot of things I liked. I really liked the way throughout the comic, these birds were following her around. And eventually we learned that there's all these animals that are kind of avatars of the Greco gods.
What do you mean?
The Greek gods. I don't know why I said Greco. So like that mouse was Hephaestus and the turtle was Mercury, or not Mercury, Hermes.
Yeah, Hermes, and
I don't think they told us which one was Zeus, but I'm guessing the stag.
Yeah, and I'm guessing the peacock might have been Aphrodite because peacocks are usually...
That's true, although peacocks are usually male. That's interesting.
That peacock is... Well, peacocks, when they have that kind of stuff, they're usually male, so it's probably not, though I was just guessing.
And this is the first issue where it's the third issue of her origin, as told by Greg Rucka, where there's some elements that are a little different, a little new. We weren't too thrilled by this version of Etta Candy. She seemed a bit... Well, you said she seemed a bit like Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
She's kind of more of an authority figure and not necessarily by the book, but, just kind of a standard issue army person. I guess maybe they've had Etta Candy in the army at other times, but my main Etta Candy is a fun-loving college girl. So I was a bit disappointed to see her as this more serious career woman in the army. There's one other thing I wanted to touch on in here. So I like this a lot. However, I don't know if you heard me and me and Matt. I always start to say Agent 42Q, which is why there's always a long pause when I try to say the name Matt, Wednesday Serial, talking about the panels we went to at the Comic-Con, Rose City Comic-Con, that Greg Rucka kind of gave a backhand, like when he talked about past Wonder Woman, he said, well, the only other one that everyone likes is the George Perez version. But he said, well, but it's kind of simplistic, which me and Matt both were kind of outraged by that.
Yeah, because the George Perez version...
It's not simplistic at all.
Yeah, it's one of the most complicated comics I've ever read.
So here is a character called Professor Perez, and he is coming there to try to translate from ancient languages with Wonder Woman, and he does a very bad job of it.
So that's kind of...
the
idea that they're kind of trying to make fun of George
I thought they were trying to make fun of George Perez, exactly, and I was a little bit bummed by that. I seemed unnecessary. Maybe they took it as more of a just having fun with him, but when I combined it with what I had heard on the panel, and there's some specific... I'm trying to find where... It was also very cool the way they did Dr. Minerva in here, but she takes some shots at this Perez guy. I can't find it.
Nobody seems to like the Dr. Perez guy, which is
right.
annoying to me.
So, like, she's talking about... If you imagine Greg Rucka is Dr. Minerva, of course she becomes a bad guy later, but she says, which would explain why my colleague, and I use the word generously, couldn't understand what she's saying. So, is Greg Rucka saying he uses the word generously that if he treats George Perez as an equal? I don't know. So I was a bit pissed by that. But this is a very good issue, and it has me looking forward to more of Wonder Woman Year One. Even though we've seen and read a bazillion Wonder Woman origins lately. So I'm coming around to it. we just the other night saw the 1977 Wonder Woman pilot show where they did her origin on Themyscira, and that was pretty interesting. Okay, I'm going to try to go quickly here. Justice League advanced the story. I had been a little shaky on what was going on before, and now I feel better about it. Still a bit of a mystery who these guys are, but the mystery is kind of interesting and feels like it has solid grounding. The art was great. It was just a fun big screen superhero comic. I definitely was happy to read it. Green Arrow was a good story. I really have trouble switching over to this art style, which is kind of like looking at animation cells, and the way it's colored and its slightly flatter style. I just had trouble getting into this world, and we're kind of on a side story until we get back to the main Green Arrow story. But it was a very good, solid story about Amiko and her adventures. There was kind of a cheesy gladiator fight that she got involved in, which wasn't as good as the rest of the story, but still, I enjoyed reading it. So Green Arrow still thumbs up with me. Flash is only still being bought by me out of affection for the general affection for the character. It's being done very badly.
It is?
And it climaxed in this issue in a way that I could see how it was kind of a clever climax, but given the way we built to it, it just didn't have much impact with me. And I guess is it going to conclude in issue 7, or they're going to break the trade here and call the next thing a new arc? Anyway, that Flash is kind of sad. Deathstroke was quite good. I still don't fully understand it. But lots of fascinating stuff about these. It's kind of a violent comic, though. So lots of fascinating stuff about these assassins. It has a bit of a super spy kind of feel to it. I'm definitely enjoying it a lot. Christopher Priest is doing a really good job.
Christopher who?
Christopher Priest is the name of the writer of this. And he was a at times popular comic book writer who's recently come back to comics with Deathstroke. I don't know if he's ever written for DC before.
He usually writes for Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
He usually wrote for Marvel.
He wrote for Marvel, and he wrote for Valiant Comics.
Valiant?
Have you heard of Valiant? They're the ones who do Faith.
Oh yeah, but I don't know much about that comic company.
Not too much. No, I don't talk about them so much.
Why does Aquaman have a gray cover?
Okay, I got stuck with another variant cover, I guess. I don't even know what the theme is here, like drawn in sand, maybe? It's kind of a cool cover, but I would have liked the main cover. You know, I go to the comic book store and they have a huge pile of comics for me to pick up, and sometimes I can quickly spot that I don't have the right cover. Somehow I didn't spot this. Matt, he likes to get credit. Matt, Agent 42Q, is the one who turned me on to Aquaman, and I'm really happy that I come back to it.
You called him Agent 42.
I called him Agent 42Q. Matt Wednesday cereal. He likes to eat breakfast cereal on Wednesdays.
He likes to buy comics on Wednesdays.
He likes to buy comics on Wednesdays. This was the big showdown with Superman. It was very well done. It was a satisfying closure to this chapter.
What big
Now we'll move on to the next chapter. Aquaman and Superman had a big fight in this one.
They did?
And believe it or not, Aquaman won. Another spoiler.
Well, just because it's
Or maybe Superman decided to back down. I don't know if Aquaman totally won, but it felt like he won. The art was great.
Yeah,
the story was really good.
The only reason he won is because it's in his comic book. That's like the only reason he won.
Superman at the end said, well, this is your comic book, isn't it? I'm going to have to let you in. Okay, you win, Aquaman.
Did he actually say that?
No, he didn't actually say that.
But
It was really well done, and I can't wait for more.
well, it is his comic book, so I think Superman sort
maybe that's the real reason. The writer let him win because it was his comic book. It does kind of beg the question, what is Aquaman's powers? How is he that super strong? I didn't think he was supposed to be like, more than a few more times stronger than a regular human being. And the other weird thing is this felt like the Superman of the New 52 Superman, not the current Superman who's older and wiser and not hooked into the government and the Justice League and everything like that yet. So that was a bit of an oversight. Maybe we can argue this happens later on once that Superman becomes more part of everything going on in the Justice League and stuff. Because there's all these quips about how there are different factions in the Justice League and Aquaman isn't part of any of them. He's the outsider. So yeah, I'm really rooting for Aquaman now. Thanks, Matt. All the credit goes to you. Everybody remember, Matt Wednesday Cereal. He is why I'm reading Aquaman.
You said Wednesday Cereal!
I said Wednesday Cereal, thank the Lord. So yeah. And this is emblematic of the fun I have reading Rebirth and really getting into comics I didn't expect to. Deathstroke, I would never have imagined myself picking up Deathstroke. I picked it up because of Priest being the writer, and now I'm really loving it. I'm loving Nightwing, which I never was a Nightwing fan. And I'm loving Aquaman. I'm loving Superman. I'm loving Detective Comics. I'm loving Supergirl. I'm loving Superwoman. Should be called Superwomen, right?
Yeah, except they kill her off like... I don't like having her killed off in the first issue.
That was pretty sneaky, though. Really surprised me. But hopefully she will not be permanently dead. That is my hope. Because I like the idea of Lois Lane as Superwoman for a while. Oh, and we do kind of have two Lois Lanes. We have Lois Lane as mother and novelist also.
What's a novelist?
A novelist is someone who writes chapter books or novels.
Oh.
So if you write, maybe you'll be a novelist someday.
Maybe. But can you end the video?
I plan to end the video right now. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, man. Quack, quack, quack.